Imagine this, a child barely 7 years old, still learning multiplication tables, still hugging her stuffed animals at night. Now picture that same child, sharpening knives, writing plans, hiding anger behind an innocent smile. It sounds impossible, doesn't it? Children are supposed to be pure, but not this child, not this time. She didn't just think about murder. She carried it out, step by step, cold, calculated, cruel, and when it was over, she tried to erase it, tried to wash it away, tried to flush it down the toilet. This is not a legend. This is not a ghost story. This is real, and it will leave you asking, how can someone so young become so dangerous? From the outside, the house looked perfect. White walls, a green yard, curtains neatly drawn, the kind of house where neighbors wave good morning, the kind of house where laughter echoes after school. Inside lived a family of 4, a father, a mother, an older sister, and the youngest child, the one no one worried about. But behind the closed doors, behind the smiling family pictures on the wall, a storm was brewing, not in the parents, not in the teenage sister, but in the smallest heart of all, and no one, not a neighbor, not a teacher, not even the parents saw it coming. She had the perfect disguise. Her age, who would ever suspect a 7-year-old, her round cheeks, her giggles, her playful drawings. She looked like a child who still needed help tying her shoes, but her mind was running in another direction. Her mind was making lists, her mind was testing ideas, her mind was learning one dangerous lesson, that people trusted her too much, and that trust would become the very weapon she used. She kept a diary. Not with fairy tales, not with silly crushes, but with dark scribbles, cold notes, clear instructions. It was all their plans to silence her family and to make it look like nothing happened. But until the last day, no one had opened it. No one had read the words, and that mistake cost lives. The first signs came quietly, so quiet that no one noticed. She started with food, mixing cleaning liquid into drinks. Her parents got sick, but they thought it was bad milk. She tried leaving sharp objects where her sister would sleep. One night, screams filled the house, cuts, blood, panic, but the parents told themselves it was an accident. Every failure taught her something new. Every attempt made her sharper. Every night, her diary grew thicker with notes, and each day her mask of innocence grew stronger. Her family laughed at her jokes. They tucked her into bed. They had no idea that the same little girl was slowly planning their end. By now, her mind was made up. No more tests, no more waiting. Her diary showed the details. She wrote down the time. She wrote down the order. She wrote down how she would clean up. The plan was simple. Wait until night, wait until everyone slept, then strike. Her small hands gripped a kitchen knife. The blade looked oversized, but her determination was bigger. She tiptoed through the dark, her heart racing, her footsteps soft. She knew exactly where to go, exactly who to silence first. Her sister's room was only a few steps away, and with every step, the line between child and monster blurred forever. The house slept. Lights off, street quiet. Only the hum of the fridge. She waited, silent on the landing, a small shape under the moonlight, her breath steady, her resolve steady. She had practiced this in her head many times. Each move rehearsed, each step measured. First target, the sister. She knew the bed. She knew the blanket. She knew the soft breath in the dark. She climbed the stairs, a shadow among shadows. Her tiny feet made no sound. At the door she paused. Her hands trembled. For 1 second she almost turned back. Then she pushed the door open. The room smelled of shampoo. A doll lay on the floor. Moonlight sliced the room. She did it quick. A knife in a small hand, a single motion, silence that felt like a thunderclap. The sister's eyes opened, confusion, then pain, then nothing. She left like a ghost. No tears, no panic. Only the click of the hallway light switch. Back downstairs she moved like nothing had happened. Her parents slept. The house still breathed slow. She hid the knife. She wiped the blade. She washed her hands with cold water. She rehearsed the next step in her head. Outside, the world went on. Neighbors walked dogs. A car passed. No one saw what had happened inside. She sat at the table, pretended to drink juice, acted as if she had never left her bed, but in the corner of the house. A small sound, a life that would not wake again, and a plan that was only halfway done. Morning came, sun through curtains, breakfast smells, Her parents discovered the scream. Chaos erupted. Neighbors crowded the yard. Phones called. She looked stunned, a child with a worried face. Tears she did not feel. The police came. Questions, paperwork, interviews. The house filled with voices. They asked where she had been. She answered simply, "I was sleeping." She sounded small, believable, but detectives felt unease. Some things did not fit. A missing shoe, a door slightly ajar, a timeline that skipped. They searched the house. They found blood. They took photos. They took statements. Two conclusions formed quickly. An intruder, or someone inside. She watched from the stairs, quiet, eyes flat. No one suspected a 7-year-old. Her plan had a hole. It wasn't perfect. She needed to fix it. She needed to clean more. She needed a story that could not be broken. So she made a new plan, a plan to bury the truth, a plan to make the world believe a lie. And she would start with the one place no one would look. People think young kids can't be cruel. They think kids don't understand death. They are wrong. She learned from books, from late-night videos, from quiet research while the house slept. She knew how to hide things. She knew what dissolved. She knew what the pipes would carry away. So she gathered the pieces, small things at first, tissues, clothes, stains. She wrapped them tight, carried them to the bathroom, turned the tap, watched the water fill the bowl. Then she pushed a slow shove, a final push. Down it went, a swirl, a sound that felt like victory. She flushed again and again until the water ran clear. She smiled, a small, quiet smile. The house still smelled like bleach, but in the pipes the truth was moving. The detectives found odd clues later, but not enough. Not a smoking gun, just questions that circled like vultures. She had learned the first rule of hiding: make it small, make it quick, make it disappear. A story must fit all facts. It must be simple. It must be believable. She started to craft one. She became an actress, a girl who lost her sister and didn't know why. She cried at the right times. She hugged her mother on cue. She pointed to imagined noises in the night. In interviews, she repeated the lines, "I heard nothing. I was in my room. I didn't see anyone." Reporters printed the lines. Neighbors nodded. They brought casseroles. They whispered prayers. The detectives grew puzzled. Every answer fit too well. Her alibi had holes, but it held. Underneath, her diary waited. Pages of cold plans. Pages of a darkness they could not imagine. She hid the diary again, under the loose floorboard in her room. The truth sat there, quiet as a mouse, waiting. Days passed. The house grew quieter. Grief soaked every corner, but investigators kept digging. They interviewed friends. They checked phones. They rechecked timelines. Small clues popped up. A camera angle that didn't match. A neighbor who swore they saw a small figure near the window. She answered each challenge with a lie, a soft voice, an innocent face, a story that fit. One detective lingered. He watched her hands. He noticed how calm she was. He noticed how clean they were. For a moment he wondered. Then he moved on. Other leads pulled him away. She felt the net tighten. But her mouth had practiced the right words. Her story kept working. Yet inside, the threads of her plan shook. Would they find the diary? Would someone remember that night differently? Or had she truly washed the truth away? The family home had turned into a crime scene. Yellow tape around the door. Police cars at night. Flashes from cameras. But the neighbors, they began to whisper. They had their own theories. They always do. Maybe it was a break-in. Maybe the parents owed someone money. Maybe it was revenge. Nobody wanted to believe the truth because the truth was too ugly, too impossible, too terrifying. Could a 7-year-old really be capable of murder? Most people laughed it off. No one wanted to even consider it. They saw her playing in the yard, small feet, small hands, braids in her hair. No, it couldn't be her. It must be someone else. But one woman down the street. She remembered something. She remembered the girl sitting alone at night, talking to herself, laughing at nothing, her eyes cold, her smile too sharp for a child. When she told detectives, they wrote it down. But they didn't act, not yet. It sounded like gossip. Still, the whispers spread, and the more they spread, the more the little girl began to notice. She saw the way people looked at her. she saw their hesitation, their fake smiles, and inside she felt the fear rising. Her mask was cracking. Her diary was the only thing that could betray her. Pages and pages of plans, drawings, lists, cold words written in a child's hand. She hid it carefully, beneath a loose floorboard in her room. But children aren't perfect. She forgot something. One day, while her mother cleaned, the floorboard shifted, just a little, enough to make her mother curious. She bent down, she pressed it. It lifted slightly, and inside she saw a notebook. Her mother pulled it out, smiled softly. She thought it was just drawings, scribbles, child stuff. She didn't read it. She simply placed it on the bed and walked away. When the girl came back, her heart stopped. The diary was in the open. The secret was out, or was it? She flipped through quickly. The pages were untouched. Her mother hadn't read it. Relief flooded her, but now she knew she needed a new hiding place. That night she crept outside, shovel in hand. She buried the diary deep in the garden, wrapped in plastic. Hidden under the old tree, she whispered to herself, "No one will ever find it." But she was wrong. Among the team of investigators, one detective refused to drop the case. His name was Daniels, sharp eyes, quiet voice, the kind who noticed small things. He remembered the little girl, how calm she was, how her eyes didn't water, how her words came rehearsed. Children break under pressure, they cry, they stumble. But not her. She was steady, too steady. Daniels requested another search. Not just the house, the yard, the surroundings. He believed evidence had been hidden, not stolen, not removed, but hidden by someone small. The other officers laughed. Hidden by who? The dog. But Daniels stayed firm. We're missing something. And he was right. The garden looked harmless. Roses, tulips, freshly watered soil. But Daniels noticed something strange. One patch of dirt looked softer, darker, as if recently disturbed. He bent down, pressed his fingers into the ground. It gave way too easily. "Dig here," he ordered. The team hesitated, but soon shovels moved. Soil piled up, and then plastic. A bag, sealed tight, pulled from the earth. Inside it, the diary, stained, childlike handwriting on every page. They opened it, they read, and what they saw stole the breath from their lungs. Plans, dates, drawings of knives, a list titled "Who Goes First," and notes about flushing things away. The room went silent. No one laughed now. The mask was cracking. The truth was leaking out, and the little girl's game was almost over. When her parents saw the diary, they froze. Shock, denial, tears. This can't be her. She's just a child. She doesn't understand. But the words on the pages, they were too clear, too specific. Too real. Detectives questioned her again, this time with the diary on the table. She stared at it, her lips tight, her eyes blank. "Did you write this?" they asked. She nodded slowly, then whispered, "Yes." The room went still. The parents gasped. The detectives leaned forward. She didn't cry. She didn't beg. She only said one thing: they had to go. Those 4 words chilled everyone in the room, because in that moment, it was no longer a mystery. No longer a question, it was fact. A 7-year-old girl had planned and executed her family's murder, and now the world would never see her the same again. They had no choice. The diary was proof. Her calm confession sealed it. But what do you do with a child, 7 years old, too young for prison, too dangerous for home? The court faced a nightmare. The parents sat broken. The mother wept. The father stared at the floor. "She's our baby," they whispered. But the pages said otherwise. The crime said otherwise. The judge ruled for psychiatric care, not a cell, not yet. She was sent to a facility, white walls, locked doors, doctors with clipboards. They asked her questions. "Do you understand what you did?" She answered calmly, "Yes." "Why did you do it?" "They didn't love me." No emotion, no regret, just flat words. The doctors traded looks. They scribbled notes. They whispered in the hall. This wasn't a tantrum. This wasn't confusion. This was cold calculation, in a body too small for handcuffs. And even here, even locked away, she was already planning her next move. They moved her to a locked facility. White halls, quiet wings, teachers with calm voices. At first, she acted small. She drew pictures. She colored inside the lines. She asked questions like the other children. but acting was easy for her. She had done it before. She knew smiles could hide other things. She used the smiles like tools. She watched the staff. She watched the guards. She learned shift changes. She learned which doors had weaker locks. She learned which nurses liked to chat, which ones left a clipboard on the table, which ones took their coffee to the same bench. Every face was a pattern. Every routine was data. She stored it all, quiet as a thread inside her head. The staff called her resourceful. They praised her games. They thought she missed home. They thought she was lonely. Rarely did they ask why she never cried, why she never begged, why she watched other kids like she was reading a book. One afternoon, she made a friend, a boy older. He liked to tell stories. He liked to run in the yard. She sat beside him. She listened. She learned what he knew about the fence, what he knew about the gate, what he knew about a hole in the perimeter. She smiled at the boy, a genuine smile, but it was also work. Connections were useful. At night she wrote again, not in a diary now. She used small marks on paper napkins. She hid them inside her shoe. She folded them so tight no one would notice. The marks were plans, escape maps drawn with childish loops, notes about guard routes, names of nurses who locked doors. She wasn't naive. She knew escape was risky. She knew it could end badly, but she also knew she had tried before and she had failed. Failure taught her more than fear. It taught her patience. It taught her to wait, to look for the smallest crack. And cracks appeared, little moments when a door was propped, a guard distracted, a window left unlocked for cleaning. She waited and watched. She was playing a patient game, a long game. One night, she put a plan into motion. A simple step, a test. It would show her how far she could push the rules. She slipped a napkin into the boy's pocket. He would carry it out without thinking, a simple smuggle. If he got caught, she would pretend ignorance. If he did not, they would both gain something. The napkin moved like a secret, small, invisible to adults, perfect for what she needed next. Night fell. The facility hummed with quiet. Lights dimmed. Footsteps soft. She put the plan in motion. Small actions, measured moves, no rush. The boy followed instructions. He slipped through a service door. She waited near the laundry room. The dryer made noise. It covered small sounds. A guard rounded the corner. He glanced in. His eyes slid past her. She did nothing. She simply breathed slow. Minutes passed. Then the boy reappeared with a tool, a small pry bar. He handed it to her under a towel. They moved, not like prisoners, like two children on an errand. They pushed a loose panel. A gap opened. She could taste the outside, cold air, different smells, freedom as an idea. But freedom is tricky. It asks questions you may not want to answer. A phone call, a neighbor, a patrol. As they ducked through the fence line, a flashlight swept the grass. A voice called, "Stop." The boy ran. He didn't look back. She paused. For a moment she considered running too, but she stayed. The guard grabbed her sleeve. His hands were rough. He smelled like cigarettes. He looked surprised. "How did you?" he started. She smiled, a small smile that changed nothing. They took her back inside. No cheering, no plaques, just a tired shake of the head from the staff. She had been so close she could still feel the outside on her skin. And for the first time, she tasted failure, but failure didn't stop her. It taught her something new. The guard had started his shift late. The gate had been propped for supplies. A maintenance window opened. These were the tiny facts she stored. They mattered. They would matter again. Back in her room, she wrote more plans, more maps, more dates. She counted days, not as a child counting sweets, but like a strategist counting moves. One day, one chance, one more attempt. News of the case leaked. Headlines grew. People were stunned. A 7-year-old talk shows debated. Experts argued, nature or nurture. They asked, was this evil or illness? Photos of the family ran across screens. Neighbors gave interviews. The country watched. Some demanded prison. Others demanded therapy. Some said the justice system had failed. Some said the parents had failed. Forums filled with comments, anger, grief, calls for answers. Meanwhile, inside the facility, she watched the news too. She heard how people called her monster. She heard them say send her away. She felt nothing. But she listened. Their words were data too. They told her what people believed, what people feared. Lawyers argued about culpability. Psychologists argued about treatment. Politicians promised changes. But in quiet rooms, decisions took shape. A hearing was set. The public wanted a spectacle. The family wanted privacy. The country wanted justice. At the hearing, experts spoke. Some said she understood consequences. Some said she could not form adult intent. The debate was messy. It was loud. In the hallway she waited, a child in an adult world, her small hands folded, eyes unreadable. When the ruling came, it was a compromise. Years in secure care, special treatment, a sentence that tried to balance safety and rehabilitation. Outside, people celebrated. Inside, she planned. The facility tightened security, more locks, more checks. More cameras. They thought they had contained the danger. They believed walls could hold a mind, but she knew about walls. She knew the ways walls failed. Small cracks, human habits, a distracted guard. Days blurred into routines, therapy sessions, school lessons, meals in a line. She paid attention to everything. Who cleaned the windows, which nurse brought the trash, who wore the key ring on their belt. She started to plan smaller moves, a test here, a conversation there, a stolen pen that might pry a lock later. Late one night, she whispered to herself, "I will not be here forever." It sounded like a promise. Not a threat, not a boast, a quiet vow. Outside, the case faded in the headlines. People moved on. They needed new stories. Inside, her mind grew sharper. And the room where she slept held a silence that was not peace. It was patience, waiting, preparing, because when someone like her plans, they do not rush. They wait, and they wait until the moment is perfect. Every morning began the same, breakfast in silence, children lined in rows. Plastic trays sliding down counters. She took her tray, she ate quietly, she never complained. She looked like any other child, but it was an act, a mask. She wore it well. In therapy sessions, she nodded. She answered softly. She told the doctors what they wanted to hear. Yes, she felt sorry. Yes, she understood what she had done. Yes, she wanted to be better. The doctors wrote notes, progress observed, improved empathy, developing insight. But behind the nods and the smiles, her mind stayed cold. She did not feel sorry. She did not feel guilt. She only studied. Every question was a test. Every answer was a move. She knew what adults wanted. She gave it to them. That was her mask, a carefully painted face, a face that hid the storm beneath. Other kids believed her too. They thought she was shy. They thought she was sweet. Some wanted to sit near her. Some wanted to share toys. She let them. She played along, but she was never really playing. She was learning how children trust, how they give things away, how they whisper secrets they should keep. She stored it all because information was power and power was survival. The mask worked so well, the staff began to trust her too. They let her read more books. They let her draw unsupervised. They praised her good behavior. She smiled back, that small, polite smile, the one she used when she had already won, but masks slip. And sometimes they slip at the worst moments. It started with a small thing, a pencil. She had hidden it in her sleeve. During a search, a nurse found it. The nurse frowned. Why hide this? The girl looked up, her face blank. She had no answer. It was nothing, a pencil, but to the staff it was a warning. Why hide something harmless? Why risk punishment? The reports changed tone, manipulative tendencies, possible deceit. Monitoring recommended. The mask had cracked, not broken, but cracked, and cracks spread fast. From then on, staff watched her closer. They timed her bathroom breaks. They checked her shoes. They counted her crayons. She noticed the shift, and she hated it. Her quiet advantage was slipping, so she changed tactics. She played smaller games. She pretended weakness. She let them catch her in lies. Small lies, nothing serious, just enough to seem childish. It worked, partly. Some staff said, she's just a kid. Others weren't convinced. One doctor in particular. Dr. Reeves, He didn't smile at her stories. He didn't praise her answers. He only watched. His eyes felt sharp, sharper than the rest. He wrote notes she couldn't see, and she knew he didn't believe the mask. That scared her more than anything, because if someone saw past the mask, then the game might be over. Dr. Reeves asked simple questions, but they were not simple at all. Do you dream? Yes, she answered. What do you dream about? Animals, sometimes school. He nodded, then wrote something, but his eyes never left her. Another day he asked, do you think people are good? Yes, she said quickly, most people are good. Again the pen moved. Again his eyes stayed fixed. He was digging. He wasn't looking for answers. He was looking for cracks. She hated it. She hated his calm, his silence, the way he didn't fall for her tricks. So one day she tried something new. She told him a story, a fake memory about a pet dog, how much she loved it, how sad she was when it ran away. She even forced tears, just a few, enough to glisten. Most adults would have softened, they would have believed. But Dr. Reeves didn't. He only asked, and when you cried, did it make you feel better? Her throat tightened. It was the wrong question. She didn't know how to answer, because she didn't cry to feel better. She cried to get what she wanted. He saw it. She knew he did. And in that moment, for the first time, she felt cornered. The facility debated her future. Some wanted longer confinement. Some said she was improving. The public had forgotten. The headlines had faded. The case wasn't news anymore. But inside those walls, decisions mattered. Was she dangerous, or was she salvageable? Dr. Reeves argued one thing. Others argued another. Meetings stretched late into the night. Meanwhile, she planned, always planning, because if adults couldn't agree, she could use that. Divide them, play them against each other, make one think she was safe. Make the other seem paranoid. It was a dangerous balance, but she had balanced worse. One evening, she overheard a staff meeting. Words slipped under a door. Possible release in 2 years. Her pulse quickened. Freedom was closer than she thought, but freedom also meant something else. Could she pretend forever? Could she wear the mask outside? Would the world believe it? She didn't know, but she wanted to find out. Days grew longer. Nights felt heavier. Her plans stacked higher. She knew release was possible, but she also knew eyes were on her, watching, waiting, judging. She felt the storm inside, not fear, not guilt. But hunger for control, hunger for freedom, hunger for the next move. Every time she smiled, the hunger burned. Every time she nodded, the storm grew. Every time she said, I'm sorry, she felt the lie grow sharper. The staff thought she was healing. They thought the mask was real. But inside, the storm raged louder. And storms don't stay silent forever. They break, they shatter, they destroy. And when this storm broke, no wall would be strong enough. No lock would be tight enough. No adult would be ready enough, because she was waiting, and she was learning, and one day soon she would strike again. The whispers grew louder, staff meetings, legal papers. Talk of release, she's only a child. One voice argued, she deserves a second chance, but others pushed back. She's dangerous, we've seen it. She manipulates, she lies. Still, laws were laws. And children could not be caged forever. She heard the whispers too, in the hallways, through vents, from careless guards who forgot she was listening. Release, freedom, the word tasted sweet, but it also carried risk. Because freedom meant eyes would always follow, neighbors would remember, children at school would whisper, parents would warn their kids. Could she live under that, or would she break it apart? She began sketching in her notebook. Not violent drawings, not blood or knives, just houses, families, smiling faces. The staff thought it was progress, but each drawing had a detail, a window open, a door unlocked, a figure standing just out of sight. The storm inside her was sketching itself out, and no one noticed. One day her parents came, the first visit in months. The mother's hands shook. The father's eyes looked hollow, but they came because part of them still wanted to believe. She greeted them with that small, polite smile. Hi, Mommy. Hi, Daddy. Her voice soft, sweet, innocent. The mother broke down crying. The father hugged her, stiff at first, then tighter. Staff watched closely, taking notes, measuring every word, every touch. But what they couldn't see was the way her eyes flickered, calculating, measuring weakness. She asked simple questions. How's home? Did you fix my room? Do the neighbors ask about me? The mother answered everything, pouring out details, too many details. The girl smiled. Each answer was fuel. Each word was a seed. When the visit ended, the parents left in tears, believing maybe, just maybe, their daughter was healing. But she wasn't healing. She was rehearsing for the world outside. After the visit, Dr. Reeves wrote a report. It was sharp, clear, chilling. She shows no true remorse. She mirrors emotions but does not feel them. She remains a risk to others. He presented it at the next meeting. Some staff nodded, others shook their heads. She's just a child, they repeated. She deserves normal life. Reeves slammed his hand on the table. Children cry when they're guilty. Children shake when they lie. She does neither. She is not like other children. But his voice was drowned out. The system was not built for monsters in small bodies. It was built for rehabilitation, for hope, for second chances. The board leaned toward release, and Reeves knew they were walking straight into her trap. The girl began counting days, hours, moments. She knew the process now. Court approval, paperwork, final evaluations. She kept her mask perfect. Polite smiles, calm words, neat drawings. The staff relaxed again. The board leaned closer to yes, but Reeves kept watching. He saw the way she tapped her pencil when she thought no one noticed, the way her eyes followed the guards, the way her smile came a second too late. He saw the storm, but his words had less and less weight. The machine of the system was moving, and the machine could not be stopped. She counted faster, she dreamed wider, and the hunger inside her sharpened. The day came, the final board meeting. Parents present, doctors present, lawyers present. Arguments flew. She's stable, she's dangerous, she's ready, she's a threat. Her parents begged, please, she's our little girl, we can take care of her, we'll watch her. Doctor Reeves raised his voice. She's not ready. You are giving freedom to a storm. Silence followed. The board whispered. Notes passed. Decisions sealed. Finally, the gavel hit. Approved for release under supervision. The parents cried tears of joy. The staff clapped softly, but Reeves sat frozen because he knew what they had just unleashed. And the girl, she only smiled, a small, polite smile. The same smile she wore when she had already won. The morning of release, clouds heavy in the sky, air thick with silence. She stood by the gates, small hands gripping a bag of clothes. A child no taller than the guard's waist. Her parents waited outside. Faces pale, hearts torn between fear and hope. The guard unlocked the final door. The metal screeched, a sound like warning, a sound like doom. She stepped forward. Her mother opened her arms. Her father forced a smile. The girl hugged them softly, but her eyes stayed cold, always cold. Cameras clicked. Reporters shouted, is she safe now? Has she changed? The parents shielded her. The lawyers said words of reassurance. But behind it all, Reeves' voice echoed in silence. You are giving freedom to a storm. And now the storm had just been set loose. The house looked the same, the walls, the rooms, her old toys waiting in dust. But the air felt different, thicker, darker. Her parents tried to pretend. They made her favorite meal. They set her old bed. They smiled too much, too forced. She noticed, of course she noticed. She saw the fear in their hands. The way they glanced at each other. The way they locked doors at night. Neighbors whispered too. Curtains moved when she walked past. Children stayed away. Parents tightened their grips. But she walked calmly. Quiet steps, small smiles, the mask in full control. Her diary returned too, fresh pages, new pen, and once again she began to write, not about guilt, not about love, but about opportunity, because freedom was fuel. And she intended to use every drop. The first day back at school, the hallways buzzed, children laughed, teachers whispered. She walked through the doors, every head turned, every mouth hushed. Some kids looked curious. Others looked afraid, but no one ignored her. The teacher smiled nervously. Class, let's welcome her back. Polite claps, awkward glances, shifting feet. She sat quietly at her desk, hands folded, eyes forward. But her mind wandered. She studied faces, voices, weaknesses. One boy dropped his pencil. She picked it up, handed it back with a smile. The teacher beamed. See, she's kind. but it wasn't kindness. It was practice, testing the waters, building trust. At recess, no one came near. She sat alone on the swing, watching, measuring, waiting. She didn't need friends, she needed pawns, and pawns always appeared. Eventually, it happened on the third week. A girl named Lily, timid, lonely, hungry for a friend. She approached cautiously. "Do you want to play?" The 7-year-old smiled. Yes, simple, soft. They played tag. They shared snacks. They whispered secrets at lunch. Teachers sighed in relief. Look, she's adjusting. Look, she's bonding. But bonding wasn't the goal, control was. She tested Lily's trust. Little games. "Give me your cookie. Tell me your secret." And Lily obeyed, happy just to have someone. The girl wrote it down that night in careful letters. "Lily trusts me." One pawn placed, more to come. Weeks turned into months. The mask stayed perfect, the teachers relaxed, the parents breathed easier, but beneath the calm the storm grew. She was smarter now, older, sharper. Every day she learned more, how adults worked, how children thought, how trust was built, and how easily it could be broken. She smiled at teachers, she laughed with classmates, she hugged her parents, but inside she was planning again, always planning, not for pencils this time, not for flushing things away, no. This time, the plans were bigger, bolder, darker. The storm was back, and soon it would break again. Masks never last forever, not even hers. It started small. A teacher noticed she never blinked during scoldings. No shame, no flinch, just a blank stare. Another teacher said she never laughed at jokes. She only laughed when others laughed first, as if copying, as if rehearsing. Her parents saw it too. The way she touched knives in the kitchen. Not to use them, just to feel them, to weigh them, to imagine. At night, they whispered in fear, "She's better now, isn't she? Isn't she?" But their voices carried doubt, and she heard every word. She began writing again, longer pages, sharper words, plans layered in ink. The cracks were back, and this time they were bigger. Lily had been loyal, the perfect pawn. But even pawns break. One afternoon, Lily saw it. The mask slip, a glare too sharp, a smile too slow. It was just a second. But children notice things adults ignore. Lily pulled back, stopped sharing secrets, stopped handing over snacks, stopped sitting close. The 7-year-old noticed immediately. Her pawn was slipping, and that couldn't happen. So she tried kindness, extra smiles, small gifts. But Lily's eyes held fear now. One recess, Lily whispered to another child. "She scares me." The girl heard it. The words cut deep, not with pain, with fury. That night, the diary filled again. But this time, it wasn't just plans. It was punishments. Punishments for betrayal. And Lily's name was written at the top. Dr. Reeves had been right. The storm hadn't passed. It had only been waiting. Teachers began filing reports. She stares too long. She repeats answers like she's practiced them. She mimics, not feels. But the system was slow. Reports piled up. No action was taken. After all, what harm could a child do now? Her parents knew better. They saw the late nights, the scribbling in her diary, the way she lingered by the bathroom drains. One night, her mother caught her sitting on the floor, flushing tissue after tissue, watching the water spin, smiling faintly. "What are you doing?" the mother whispered. The girl looked up, calm, just remembering. Her mother froze. Because she knew exactly what that meant. The past wasn't gone. It was alive. It was waiting. At school, she tried again. This time, not with Lily, with others. A group of boys, rowdy, reckless, easy to push. She planted ideas. "Don't you think the teacher is unfair? Wouldn't it be funny if we hid her bag?" The boys laughed. They did it. And when caught, they pointed at each other, not at her. She stayed quiet. Innocent, untouched. The teachers scolded the boys. She watched with calm eyes. The puppet master, hidden behind strings. One by one, she learned who could be bent, who could be tricked, who could be used. It wasn't about friendship. It wasn't about fun. It was about control, and now she had pawns again, not just one, but many, her diary filled with their names, their secrets, their weaknesses. She was building an army. And no one saw it. Months later, a familiar figure appeared, Dr. Reeves, summoned to review her case. He walked into the classroom quietly, observed from the back, and the moment their eyes met, she froze. For the first time in months, her mask wavered, because Reeves wasn't fooled. He never had been. He watched her play with classmates. He saw the rehearsed laughter, the calculated glances, the mimicry. Later, in his notes, he wrote one line, "She has not changed, she has adapted." When he met her parents, his words were blunt. "You think you brought home a child. You didn't. You brought home a storm that learned to smile." Her mother cried. Her father shook his head, but Reeves' voice lingered in the air, and the girl, that night, she opened her diary, and at the very top of a new page she wrote his name. Dr. Reeves didn't stay silent. He went straight to the board, straight to the school, straight to anyone who would listen. "She's dangerous," he said. "She hasn't healed. She's hiding in plain sight." But the system was tired. They'd heard this before. They wanted peace. They wanted closure. "She's just a little girl," they argued. "She deserves a chance at normal life." Reeves slammed his fist down. "You're not listening. She mimics, but she doesn't feel. She copies, but she doesn't care. You are feeding a wolf because it wears a lamb's skin." Some listened, most didn't. The wheels of bureaucracy turned too slow. Meanwhile, the girl sat in her room, writing, smiling, because she knew Reeves was right. But no one else did. Her parents had grown cautious. They locked the kitchen drawers, they counted the scissors, they checked her room each night, but she found ways, always. One night her mother woke, the sound of water running. She crept to the bathroom and froze. The girl knelt by the toilet, dropping paper scraps in the bowl, flushing them slowly, watching them spin. Her eyes were wide, her smile faint. "What are you doing?" the mother whispered. The girl turned calm. "I'm practicing." The words chilled the room. Practicing for what? Her mother didn't dare ask. The next day, the mother told her husband, "We made a mistake. She's not ready. She's not safe." But by then it was too late. Because the ritual had begun. At school, her games grew darker. She whispered lies. She spread rumors. She turned friends against each other. One boy pushed another. A fight broke out. She watched quietly. Satisfied? Teachers couldn't trace it back to her. They never could. But children began to fear her, even without knowing why. They felt it, the wrongness in her eyes. Still, she gathered more pawns. Ones too young, too naive, ones who thought her silence meant kindness. She gave them orders, small ones, "Bring me that, hide this for me." And they obeyed every time, her diary filled with their names. Lily crossed out, new names added. She wasn't just playing anymore. She was testing loyalty, testing how far children would go, how far she could push them, and one day soon, she planned to push them too far. Dr. Reeves requested another meeting, this time with her parents alone. He looked them in the eye. "She's planning something. I don't know what, but I can feel it." The father shook his head. "You're exaggerating. She's better now." Reeves leaned forward. "No, she is rehearsing. Every smile, every laugh, every tear, it's all rehearsal, and when she's ready she will strike again." The mother's hands trembled. Deep down, she believed him, but love clouded judgment. Hope clouded fear. They wanted their daughter back, but Reeves knew the daughter they wanted no longer existed. If she ever had at all, that night, the girl filled 10 pages, not random words, not childish scribbles, but a plan, step by step. Names, times, objects, details. She wrote it carefully, slowly, like an architect designing a building. At the bottom of the page, she drew a circle. Inside the circle, a single word. Flush. The storm inside her was no longer quiet. It was roaring, ready, hungry, and this time she wasn't hiding it. Not in her heart, not in her mind, not even in her diary. The plan was in motion. And nothing, not parents, not teachers, not doctor, Reeves would be able to stop it. It was raining, hard, the kind of rain that rattles windows and drowns footsteps. Inside the house, everything seemed calm. Dinner plates stacked, lights dimmed, parents reading, but upstairs the girl sat wide awake, staring at her diary. Her plan was ready, her tools hidden tonight. No more practice, no more waiting. She slipped out of bed. Every step silent. Her tiny hands steady, her tiny heart racing, but not with fear, with excitement. The house was asleep. The storm outside hid every sound, and the ritual was about to begin. She started with the kitchen. Unlocked the drawer she had secretly loosened days before. The blade glimmered under the faint light. Her eyes didn't blink. Her grip didn't shake. She moved like she'd done it before, because she had. 100 times in her mind, her parents stirred upstairs but didn't rise. They thought they were safe. They thought she was asleep. She climbed the stairs, blade hidden, smile fixed, each creak of wood sounding like a drumbeat. Her diary had spelled it all out. Step 1, Step 2, Step 3. And as she pushed open the door, Step 1 began. The house was silent again. Too silent. The storm outside had passed, but inside, the storm she unleashed lingered. Her small hands were stained, her diary pages filled with fresh notes, corrections, improvements, because even after this she was still learning, still perfecting. Then she returned to the bathroom. Her favorite place, the toilet. One by one, she flushed small things, notes, scraps, tiny reminders of what she had done. The sound of water swirling made her smile. It was her ritual, her victory dance. The world would never see what she flushed, but she knew, and that was enough. Morning came, the sun rose, neighbors knocked, but no one answered. When the door was finally opened, the scene inside froze them in place. A home of horrors, a silence that screamed louder than thunder. Police rushed in, questions flew, evidence scattered, and in the middle of it all a little girl sat, calm, quiet, holding her diary. She didn't cry, didn't scream, didn't ask why. She only said one thing: I practiced, and now I'm perfect. The media exploded. How could a 7-year-old do this? Headlines screamed. People demanded answers. Experts debated. Doctors argued. Parents shivered. And through it all her story spread, from whispers in classrooms to warnings in small towns. The girl who planned, the girl who executed, the girl who flushed. She became more than a criminal. She became a legend, a nightmare parents told their children, but the chilling truth, she wasn't finished. Her diary still had pages left, and in her own words, this is only chapter 1.